If you stand in a certain part of South London, you will find a rather imposing, almost fortress-like structure that seems out of place amongst the surrounding houses and streets. This is His Majesty's Prison, Wandsworth. It opened its gates back in 1851, a time when Queen Victoria was on the throne, and London was a very different city. The prison itself is a sprawling complex of red brick, a classic example of Victorian design. It was conceived as a place to hold nearly 1,000 men, which, at the time, made it one of the largest prisons in the country. Its sheer size is something you feel when you approach it. The high walls seem to stretch on forever, a stark and undeniable statement of confinement. The original purpose of Wandsworth was quite specific. It was built during an era of penal reform, designed to hold men in separate cells. The idea, known as the separate system, was that solitude would encourage reflection and repentance. Each man was meant to have his own space, a small room, to contemplate his actions away from the corrupting influence of others. Today, this founding principle seems almost laughably optimistic. The prison now holds around 1,500 men, a figure that is more than 50% higher than what it was ever designed for. The population it serves is also incredibly varied. A large majority are not even serving a final sentence, but are on remand, awaiting trial, or are being held for other reasons. This dramatic shift from its original design to its current reality is at the heart of Wandsworth's problems. A building intended for one purpose is now being used for another, under immense strain. The men who live there now are a complex mix. You have individuals awaiting sentencing, which creates a constant state of uncertainty and anxiety. There are also those who have been recalled to prison for breaching their license conditions, and a number of immigration detainees. This transient population makes managing the prison an administrative nightmare. It's a constant churn of people coming and going, each with their own legal status and personal needs that must be tracked meticulously. The contrast between the prison's Victorian architecture and its modern-day function is quite stark. The long, galleried wings, which might have seemed orderly and controlled in the 19th century, now feel chaotic and overwhelmed. The very structure of the building struggles to cope with the sheer number of bodies it contains. It was never meant to be a holding pen for such a diverse and rapidly changing group of people. This historical context is important because it shows us that the crisis at Wandsworth isn't just a recent failure. It's a slow-burning problem, where a system designed for a different age has been stretched to its absolute breaking point. For the men inside Wandsworth, daily life is defined by one overwhelming factor: overcrowding. The cells, originally designed for one person to live in solitude, now frequently hold two, sometimes even three men. Imagine a space not much bigger than a small family bathroom, now shared with one or two other people. This is the reality for many. It means a lack of privacy, constant noise, and the simple, grinding difficulty of sharing a tiny area with others for almost the entire day. The conditions are grim. These cells were not built with modern sanitation in mind, and the close quarters can lead to tensions boiling over very quickly. This lack of space is compounded by the amount of time prisoners are locked inside their cells. Due to severe staff shortages, it is common for men to be locked up for 22 hours a day. This is a staggering amount of time to spend in such a confined environment. It leaves very little opportunity for education, work, or exercise, the very things that are meant to help with rehabilitation. Instead, days are spent with little to do but wait. This enforced idleness is not just boring, it's psychologically damaging. It can exacerbate mental health problems and create a sense of hopelessness that is difficult to shake off. When prisoners are allowed out of their cells, the environment they enter is often just as stressful. The communal areas, wings, and exercise yards are all struggling to cope with the excess numbers. The sheer volume of people makes it difficult for staff to maintain control and for prisoners to feel safe. Simple activities like collecting medication, having a shower, or making a phone call can become fraught with difficulty and delay. Everything takes longer, and the atmosphere is often tense. It's a system operating under constant pressure, and you can feel that pressure in every interaction and every cue. The impact of this environment on rehabilitation is profound. A prison is supposed to do more than just contain people. It is meant to prepare them for a successful return to society. But at Wandsworth, the conditions make this almost impossible. How can someone address their offending behavior or learn new skills when they are locked in a cramped cell for most of the day? The system is so focused on just getting through each day, on basic management and containment, that the more aspirational goals of rehabilitation are often pushed to the side. It becomes a cycle of warehousing people rather than helping them to change. Wandsworth's problems go far beyond just being full. The prison is plagued by a chronic shortage of staff, which has a ripple effect on everything else. Reports have found that on any given day, as many as a third of the staff might be absent. Many of the officers who are present are often young and inexperienced, with high turnover rates meaning there is little continuity or accumulated wisdom on the wings. This lack of experienced personnel makes it incredibly difficult to run a safe and orderly prison. Without enough officers, you cannot supervise prisoners properly, you cannot run workshops, and you cannot respond effectively when things go wrong. These staffing issues contribute directly to major security failings. In September 2023, the entire country was alerted to this when a former soldier, Daniel Khalife, managed to escape by strapping himself to the bottom of a food delivery van. It was a bold and surprisingly low-tech escape, and the investigation that followed uncovered a staggering 81 separate security failings at the prison. While money has since been spent on upgrades, it highlighted a deep-seated vulnerability, and the simple fact that staff couldn't properly track where all the prisoners were was a major concern raised by inspectors, and it's a problem that's hard to fix without enough boots on the ground. Perhaps one of the most alarming and repeated failures at Wandsworth is the mistaken release of prisoners. It sounds like something from a film, but it happens with unnerving regularity. In September 2024, an administrative blunder led to 37 inmates being freed by mistake. Later, in November 2025, a convicted sex offender was released in error and remained at large. These incidents are often blamed on a combination of factors. Media group, old computers in prison office, stacks of paperwork in prison administration, tired prison staff at cluttered desks at Stockard distributed equally outdated IT systems, a reliance on manual paperwork, and simple human error made by an overworked and inexperienced administrative staff. Each mistaken release is a serious public safety issue and a sign of a system that is failing at its most basic task. Despite these headline-grabbing incidents, there have been some attempts at improvement. A new governor has been praised for bringing a sense of direction, and there are signs that the rates of violence and self-harm, while still terribly high, are beginning to improve slightly. Yet, the fundamental problems remain. New government policies, like an early release scheme designed to ease overcrowding, have ironically added to the administrative burden on the already stretched staff. Introducing new 5-page release checks, for example, is a good idea in theory, but without the staff to process them properly, it just creates more delays and more potential for error. It would be easy to think of Wandsworth as a place apart, a problem contained behind high walls that doesn't affect the world outside. But that would be a mistake. The state of the prison is not some hidden secret. It is a crisis happening in plain sight, in the middle of one of the world's great cities. What happens inside those walls has direct consequences for all of us. When men are released after being held in conditions that breed despair and offer no rehabilitation, they are more likely to reoffend. When security is so weak that prisoners can escape or be released by mistake, public safety is directly compromised. The story of Wandsworth serves as a powerful warning. It shows what happens when a vital public service is neglected for too long. The combination of chronic underfunding, overcrowding, and staff shortages has created a perfect storm, leading to a system that is not just failing the prisoners, but failing society as a whole. It is a stark illustration of how quickly things can unravel when the basic infrastructure of justice is allowed to crumble. The prison struggles are a symptom of a much wider crisis across the entire prison estate in England and Wales, but its high-profile nature makes it a particularly vivid example. Learning about Wandsworth is important because it forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about what we want our prisons to be. Are they simply places of punishment and containment, or should they aspire to be places of reform and change? The current reality at Wandsworth suggests we are failing on all fronts. It is not punishing effectively, as the chaos and lack of control undermine any sense of order. And it is certainly not rehabilitating, as the conditions make positive change nearly impossible. The prison has become a holding bay of human misery, and that should concern everyone. Ultimately, Wandsworth Prison is more than just a failing institution. It is a mirror reflecting a wider societal indifference. The problems there have been known for years, highlighted in report after report, yet the crisis deepens. Its visibility, its history, and its sheer scale mean we cannot claim ignorance. The prison stands as a monument to a system in crisis, a clear and present warning that if we continue to look away, the consequences will only grow more severe. It is a story not just about a single prison, but about the kind of society we are choosing to be. If you found this story important, please subscribe to Unknown Record for more in-depth investigations and untold stories. Your support helps us shine a light on issues that matter.